And right now, we're going to talk about the first of the 3 C's. This is how convincing calls to action, your first choice for creating your microphone message, can bring fast results. And I'm going to start off with a story. So, have you ever been so excited about selling a new product or service, sharing your message, or leading a movement, but you struggled to achieve pretty much any success at all? In the beginning of 2009, that's pretty much where I found myself. I loved marketing and sales. I still love marketing and sales. It's my passion in life, marketing and sales. And I loved it so much that I wanted to turn it into my life's work. So I decided that each day I would wake up early with a mission and vision to basically help businesses around the world explode their sales. Now, I didn't really have any experience, but I was ready. Okay, I was ready to take action and ready to make my work from home dreams come true. Okay, there was only one big problem. I was barely making enough to pay the bills. So that's my wife, Kristen, holding Ellie. Okay, she was a baby at the time. And then my son, Jace, was only 3 years old at the time. So I now have 4 kids, but at the time I only had 2 kids. So that's us, 2009. Do I look stressed? I was stressed because with the cost of diapers and insurance and additional food, things were tough. And they were a constant reminder that I had to get my new business to quickly start making more money. Okay. The one thing I had going for me was this. Yes, I was passionate. Okay. I really was passionate for marketing. I love marketing. I love sales. So I had the passion, I had the drive. Thankfully, I had the drive. I really wanted to make this work. So I went to try to make this work. And these are a couple of clips from some of my first videos. Kind of embarrassing. I started taking action. I occasionally made a sale here and there for stuff that I was trying to sell. But for months, I tried to make it work. It was tough. I would wake up early, get to work. I started helping some businesses in tons of different industries. I helped businesses in health and wellness and finance and beauty and insurance and in other niches as well. And those companies normally paid me a commission instead of a flat fee. And the more sales and leads that I was able to generate, the more they would pay me. And as long as those sales and leads continued to generate good profits for those companies, they would continue to pay me for more and more sales and leads. For months, I tried to sell it all. And I would set up marketing campaigns for a new supplement or a new beauty product or insurance offer. And I would try to start to make these sales. And sometimes I would make a few sales that allowed me to pay some of the bills because I made a few $100s in commissions, but nothing was consistent. It was hit and miss. One month I would sell a little bit. Other months I would sell barely anything. And yeah, it was tough times. But at the end of many months, I saw that our financial situation was pretty much just getting worse. Okay. And that we were approaching something called the poverty line. The poverty line is the line where you're making so little money that you qualify for multiple government programs because you're poor. Okay. So we were approaching that. One thought kept on beating me up. The thought was that a successful marketer that's helping businesses generate more sales and profits shouldn't be in poverty. There was a big disconnect there. How can I be a successful marketer if I'm in poverty? So I kept working, I kept struggling, but I was learning from my mistakes. I was failing forward. And then by the end of 2009, I still hadn't discovered a microphone message that would break through, that would solve my problem. But by the end of the year, by the end of 2009, I was presented with an interesting sales opportunity. You see, according to the World Health Organization, tobacco kills more than 7 million people per year. And most smokers know of the dangers, and many would like to quit, but they need help. So many former smokers were raving about the results of kits that I could start selling. And many people were saying that the kits helped them feel better just after just a few days. So I was excited because I felt I finally found a microphone message worth spreading, a message worth sharing with the world that could also generate me some profits. And I knew if I presented that message in the right way to the smokers, that I could help sell more kits, they would buy, and that might be the microphone message that would put me on the map. I put together the campaign, and I was ready to start promoting it. And I learned that I can only promote the sale of those kits on certain sites. And I found a company that allowed me to advertise the kits, but they required a minimum investment of $500. So the problem was I didn't have $500 sitting around. If I had, then we wouldn't have been approaching the poverty line, remember? We had zero in the bank, literally, and we were already approaching our credit card limits. Not looking good. But I did see that I had enough limit on my credit card to make the initial $500 investment. But I was scared. I was scared. I knew that if I sold nothing after investing that $500, that it would be the last straw, that I would need to quickly go out and find a job to basically avoid bankruptcy. I would need to give up my dream of working from home as a marketing and sales expert, at least for a few years until I don't know. And then what job would I have even gotten? Because I hadn't been, anyway, there was a whole big pile of issues that I was going through. And this $500 investment was like my last chance. At least at the time it felt like it. And so for 3 days, I went back and forth because I was like, do I spend this $500? It's so much money that I don't have. And because of that fear of taking action, I spent 3 whole days actually revisiting the marketing campaign and the microphone message that I was putting together to try to make it even more perfect. And I got to the point within that 3-day period that I made it so perfect that I said, you know what? If I launch this and it doesn't sell, then it's just proof that maybe I'm not meant to be this marketing and sales expert, because this is gold. Like I was like, this has to work. It's so good. So by the end of the 3 days, I said, all right, it's so good. I'm just going to do it and just pray for the best. So I pulled out my credit card quickly, put down the $500 and was like, okay, I did it. Spent the $500. And then the following morning, the campaigns were approved to go live. Okay. And that day was it was like Christmas morning for me. I was like, what's going to happen when my campaigns are going live? And this, I think this could be it. And it really, like, as a kid, how you feel when it's Christmas Day and you're just so excited. You're like, yes, this is so cool. That was the most it's felt like Christmas in my life, with the exception of actually experiencing Christmas as a kid. It was literally like Christmas Day for me. So the campaigns went live and I was so happy. I didn't cry, but I felt like crying. Within the first few hours of the marketing campaign, I made my first sale. I made a sale and I looked at it and it was slightly profitable. Okay. I got like $50 commission and I spent like $35 to get the sale. And I was like, oh my gosh, right now, if I stopped everything right now, I have a profitable campaign. and then by the end of the day, I had made even more sales. And by the end of the 2-day period that was spending that $500, I made $700 in commission. So $500 spend, $700 back. I made $200 profit. And it sounds so small and is insignificant right now, but it was a huge, huge deal for me. $700 in sales from my $500 investment. But then I was like, oh, I have this success. And then if you've ever gone so long without having a big breakthrough, a big success, sometimes you start to doubt yourself even after the success comes. And so I was like, wait, is this really real? Did that just happen? And then I was like, well, maybe the company's not really going to pay me my $700 in commissions. And I was just coming up with all these doubts, even though the success was there. And it's funny how your mind can play tricks on you when success finally comes after so long of struggles. You're like, is this really real? Is this here to last? Am I dreaming? And of course, it was all real. The company did pay me my hard-earned commissions. And of course, they wanted more sales. They were thankful for the sales. They wanted more sales. It was profitable for them. It was profitable for me. They wanted more. So I had a decision to make. This is on my wedding day, one of my favorite pictures with my wife. So I make the important decisions with my wife. I showed my wife. She was excited. I was excited, but we were like, well, should we take this $700 in commissions and pay off the credit cards? Or should we take it and buy more traffic and keep going with this campaign? And since we're crazy, as you can see in the picture, we said, no, just let's go all in. Let's keep spending. So we took the $700 instead of paying off the credit card, and we bought more traffic from that ad network. And with that $700 over the next couple of days, that turned into $1,000. And so we had started with 5, and now we've turned 5 into 1,000, right? And so with that $1,000, we were like, do we pay off the credit cards? And we're like, no, keep going. So we started investing again, and then we started to scale it more and more. And eventually we paid off the credit cards, okay, because things were profitable. But we also got to the point where we started making about $500 per day in profit. And some days we made up to $1,000 per day. So we went from like not making money to $500 and $1,000 days at times. And it was just absolutely life-changing. We were hooked, kept scaling it. The company kept paying the commissions. I eventually scaled that campaign with that one microphone message up to $1 million in sales. And of course, soon after we went out and we bought, as soon after having success, we went grocery shopping, and we bought a lot of those foods that we hadn't had for such a long time. We bought Heinz ketchup. In fact, I remember buying 2 bottles. Oh my goodness, 2 bottles of Heinz ketchup instead of just a bottle of ketchup, because I was so excited about our results. And, you know, we started eating, instead of the cheap foods like the top ramen and stuff, we got more of the healthier foods. And we also started to travel, because those next years, that campaign and multiple other campaigns started hitting for me, because I started to crack the code. And so we went and traveled to different places. Went to Paris, went to Hawaii, went to Switzerland, etc. And now, because of my marketing and sales success, today, actually, my family and I still travel. I have 4 kids now. And we actually currently, at the moment, we've been full-time traveling for a year. Now, COVID has kind of put a damper on our travels, but we're still traveling as a family. And so we get to, basically, I get to do the job of my dreams, working in marketing and sales. And I get to, you know, buy Heinz and I get to travel. 3 big benefits: Heinz ketchup, I get to do the job of my dreams, and I get to travel with my family. And it was all because way back in 2009, I finally had my breakthrough with my first microphone message that just straight up connected with audiences. And the style of microphone message for that campaign was what I call a convincing call to action. Okay, so the convincing calls to action is the first of the 3 categories, and I hope you get excited about this possibility for your message as well. So what are these convincing call to actions all about? Why are they so magical? Well, there's 3 main steps that make them so magical. The first step is that the message speaks directly to and tries to capture the attention of the target audience. So with the Kids for Smokers, that's what I was able to do. I had the right message for the right audience. and those kids obviously caught their attention. Okay, so I had that message that directly captured the attention of my target audience. The message also gives people to take action, usually by mentioning the biggest benefits for taking action, and kind of right away. You kind of want to try to get people to take action right away when your microphone message is a convincing call to action. And then the message invites them after mentioning the benefits, it directly gets them to take action. So convincing calls to action are also creative. They're memorable and differentiated from the competition. So that's kind of what convincing calls to action are all about. Now, are there more examples other than my kids? As a matter of fact, there are. Here's a really cool example. Did you know that on July 1st, 1941, extremely exciting thing happened for the marketing world, because that was the first time ever in the history of the world that a television ad ran on television. And it was for the Bulova Watch Company, okay? And I actually have the clip that I'm gonna show you. This is the first commercial to ever run on television. And it was, and I categorize it as a convincing call to action. You'll see it's not an extremely well done convincing call to action, but because it was so novel at the time, it actually worked for people. So here we go. For your eyes, the first television commercial ever.
America runs on Bulova time.
Oh my goodness. How about that? America runs on Bulova time. Just a still image for the most part. And that was the first commercial ever. And it worked to some degree because it was so novel, and it had a call to action. Okay, American runs on Bulova time. America buys these watches. Go out and buy them, guys. And it worked for people. Now, thankfully, since 1941, we've gone a long way, and there's some elements that you can include in order to make your convincing calls to action even more convincing. Here's a little bit of the progression with these examples. What we have here is in 1952, they did a much better job. Let's see, that was 11 years of experimenting with television commercials. For Dwight D. Eisenhower's political campaign against Adlai Stevenson, he ran a commercial, and it was one of the most sticky, memorable commercials of the time, and it helped him win the election. Here is the progression for you of his convincing call to action, and you'll see in a second why I said it was so sticky and memorable.
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We don't want John or Dean or Harry, let's do that big job right. Just get in step with the guy that's hep, get in step with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We got to get where we are going, travel day and night for president. Let Adelaide go the other way, we'll all go with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington, we'll take Ike to Washington.
Now is the time for all good Americans to come to the aid of their country.
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president.
Whoa, so how about that?
Oh my gosh, Ike is popular.
He's way popular. Social proof through that cartoon, right?
Wow.
So the results of that, so like I said, the convincing calls to action through commercials, at least on television, started to get a lot better. And this one was so sticky and memorable that everybody started singing the song. Okay, so imagine all the kids in the whole country singing Ike for president, Ike for president. How are you going to win when all of the kids in the country are addicted, and even the parents have this in their mind, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. And it just worked because it was of the convincing call to action. Now, this convincing call to action actually helped paint the picture that Adlai Stevenson was an out-of-touch politician. Okay, he wasn't very relatable, and that's another reason why that message worked so well, because Adlai Stevenson, he would have never put anything out like that. So it made Ike relatable. They created social proof behind the cartoon, even though it was just a cartoon, right? And Eisenhower was able to win the election with 83% of the electoral vote. Okay, so there we go. The progression, things are getting better. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. You've probably heard of this convincing call to action. Geico has been running this for a very, very long time. They continue to run it because, well, it's a convincing call to action that's just worked for the company. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Go back, look on the history, jump on YouTube, and you can see that they've been running this message forever. Federal Express, when it absolutely positively has to get there overnight. That is the positioning statement for Federal Express, now better known as FedEx, right? When it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. Now, did this convincing call to action work for Federal Express way back in the beginning for them? Well, this was a 1978 campaign, and it helped them quickly, helped the company quickly become the preferred choice for fast delivery. And by 1983, a big part in due to this campaign, this microphone message that's a convincing call to action, by 1983, Federal Express became the first U.S. company to reach revenues of $1 billion within 10 years of startup without having gone through a merger or acquisition. Very impressive. And it helped them, of course, maintain through the decades the positioning of fast delivery. When people think of FedEx today, they still think of what? Oh, when I need it there really, really fast, you're going to pay a little bit extra and you're going to go FedEx. Okay, that's FedEx positioning. That convincing call to action from the beginning helped them dramatically. Okay, Purple Mattress Company. In 2015, they kicked off the company with a Kickstarter, and their goal was to do $25,000 in Purple mattress sales. The results of their Kickstarter campaign, which includes a funny video, I'm not going to show you the whole video, but you can search Purple Kickstarter video and you can watch the whole video. And it's funny and it's very convincing. And it shows you all the reasons why you should go get a Purple mattress. So it's entertaining and convincing. But the results of that video was that 320 people bought, pledging $171,560. And that's what kicked off Purple. And I actually talked to Russ Whatcott. I interviewed Russ Whatcott, the director of innovation at Purple. He's been working with Tony and Terry Pierce, who created the technology for Purple, who are the owners of the Purple company. He's been working with them for 13 years. So he's Purple's director of innovation, and he revealed something extremely insightful. He said, viral looks sexy, but it's not really what you want. You want to be able to kind of control it. Viral is where you don't have control over it. So you sent it out and people start sharing it, and the next thing you know, it is everywhere. And one of the problems is that sometimes it will burn out too fast. Whereas if you're paying for some of those views, if you're paying for the exposure that you can get, you can measure how much of that exposure you can get. You know where your levers are. If we want to sell more, we can put some money into this area, because that's been very responsive. So what Russ Whatcott revealed through Purple is that with all these videos that they're putting out with these convincing call to action, yes, they have a bit of a level of virality to their videos because they're so entertaining, but they're not trying to go viral. They're actually trying to set up a marketing system with these marketing videos, with these convincing calls to action, where they can actually promote the videos. And every time they promote it, it brings in more sales for the Purple Mattress Company. So the Purple advertising machine Well, how well is this working for them? They have actually 3 videos with a combined 350 million views. Just 3 of their videos. They have tons of these videos, all using what? Convincing calls to action. Okay, so they entertain, and then they have a convincing call to action to go and get you to buy the purple mattress. Okay, so pros. Like me, all of a sudden going from near poverty to pretty much marketing riches, one of the pros of a convincing call to action is that you can achieve quick results. Another pro is that you can easily measure those results. Just like Purple, their goal isn't to go viral. Their goal is to create these messages and promote them, and they pull the right levers when they need more sales in different areas. So because it's a convincing call to action, you can more easily measure the results, and you can laser target your message to the right audience. Those are the pros of if you decide to create a convincing call to action as your microphone message. And the big thing to look out for is that if you're not careful, your message might be seen as too salesy, okay? As a result, you might have fewer people decide to share your message. So there's a fine line that you have to play when creating convincing calls to action. Sometimes there's a right time and place for those convincing calls to action as well. We're gonna talk more about the details, the intricacies of a convincing call to action for your microphone message in future videos as well. This is just actually an introduction video to this category of message in case you decide to have your next microphone message be a convincing call to action. So will your next microphone message be a convincing call to action? That's the question. And another question, what microphone messages have you responded to in the past because they followed the 3 steps of a convincing call to action? I want you to think about that. What got you to take action? So here's the recap, the 3 main steps of a convincing call to action. The message speaks directly to and tries to capture the attention of the target audience. The message gives reasons to take action, usually by mentioning the biggest benefits of taking action. And the message then invites the target audience to take action, okay? You're gonna directly tell people, hey, go here and do this thing. Go vote for me. Go buy this product, okay? So some quick questions to sum up this video for you, questions for you to answer with by yourself or with you and your team. What convincing calls to action have you produced in the past that resonated with your audience? Also, why did those messages connect so well? And what possible ideas do you have for creating a convincing call to action as your microphone message? As you watch each one of these videos, I want you to start to take note of all of your possible ideas for campaigns, for your microphone message. Ideas here, ideas there, little elements, little ideas. I want you to grow a list. By the end of all the videos, you're gonna have a big list of ideas, and we're gonna help you filter those ideas so that you can dial in what's gonna be the best microphone message for you to put out there in the market that breaks through the noise. All right? So that's this video on convincing calls to action, and we will see you in the next video. All right, thank you for joining us in this episode of the Marketing Podcast Party. Please share this episode with your friends, family, and business partners. Also, remember that the party continues with your free copy of the Ideas That Influence book and interactive box experience. I wrote the book and created the box experience to help you with even more wildly successful marketing ideas. Head on over to bigideasbox.com to grab your copy. You'll get your copy for free. You just pay shipping and handling. Once again, that's bigideasbox.com for your free plus shipping copy of Ideas That Influence. I'm Daniel Din. This is the Marketing Podcast Party, and I'll see you in the next episode.